Imagine yourself driving through the tree-lined streets of this picturesque town, each house more beautiful than the last, the dream home you've always wanted. You find yourself longing, wishing one day to be part of this haven's postcard perfection. It's a place where dreams seem to live and breathe within the very bricks and mortar. But then, in the quiet aftermath of an ordinary day, a chilling headline cuts through the fantasy. A family brutally murdered inside the safety of those walls. Suddenly, your dream becomes a nightmare. Nestled in the heart of Westfield, New Jersey, with its tree-lined streets and stately homes, the List family portrayed the epitome of a serene suburban existence. A sprawling mansion, a devout father, a caring mother, and three vibrant children, the embodiment of the American dream. Yet, beneath this facade of perfection and harmony, a darkness lurked, culminating in a horror that would upend the idyllic images etched in the town's collective memory. On November 9th, 1971, the unimaginable actions of one man shattered that tranquility. John Emil List methodically murdered his entire family, leaving behind a home that had transformed from a sanctuary into a tomb. John List was born in 1925 into a Lutheran family, where he developed a rigid, conservative outlook that would shape his entire life. An Army veteran and a devout Christian, List seemed to embody the post-war American dream. He married Helen Morris in 1951, and the couple went on to have 3 children. The List family's life in Westfield, New Jersey, was outwardly typical for the era, but internally, it was fraught with tension. John's job as an accountant could not keep pace with his family's financial demands, leading to a cascade of personal and financial failures. His marriage to Helen, already strained by her mental health issues, and his disapproval of his eldest daughter's life choices, further deteriorated the situation. The family's financial ruin was imminent, pushing List towards the brink. On the morning of November 9th, 1971, in the quiet town of Westfield, New Jersey, John List methodically executed a plan he had been devising for some time. He began his spree of violence with his wife, Helen List, aged 46, in the kitchen of their sprawling mansion, shortly after the children had left for school. Helen was making coffee when List shot her in the back of the head at point-blank range, ensuring immediate death. Next, List ascended to the 3rd floor of the house, where his 84-year-old mother, Alma List, lived in her apartment. He shot her above the left eye, and due to the mansion's sheer size and Alma's seclusion, her murder went undetected by anyone outside the household. The children's murders were staggered throughout the day as they returned home from school. Patricia, age 16, and Frederick, age 13, were the next victims. Patricia, who had aspirations of becoming an actress. That was a career path her father vehemently opposed due to his conservative beliefs. She was shot in the back of the head as she sipped tea in the kitchen. Frederick, the youngest, met a similar fate in the same room. There were no signs of struggle or escape attempts from Patricia or Frederick, suggesting they were taken by surprise with no time to react or comprehend what was happening. John Jr., aged 15, was the final family member to return home. Unlike his siblings and mother, there was evidence of a struggle. John Jr. attempted to defend himself after being shot, indicating he was aware of his father's intentions. List shot him repeatedly, a total of 10 times, showcasing a frenzied overkill that was absent in the other killing. This act was a stark contrast to the calculated executions of the other family members, suggesting a possible confrontation or resistance from John Jr. Due to the home being in a secluded neighborhood and the mansion's extensive layout combined with List's planning, ensured that the gunshots were not heard by neighbors or passersby. The bodies of Helen, Patricia, and Frederick were found lined up on sleeping bags in the mansion's ballroom. while Alma's body remained on the third floor. John Jr.'s body was found near his mother and siblings, evidence of his desperate attempt to escape his father's wrath. List meticulously planned murders to coincide with a time when he could ensure the family's isolation, both physically within their home and socially, by sending letters to the children's schools and Helen's and his own employers, stating the family would be visiting Helen's sick mother in North Carolina for several weeks. This forethought allowed List to avoid immediate detection and escape, leaving a haunting silence in the mansion that would not be broken until the discovery of the bodies nearly a month later on December 7th, 1971. After committing the murders, List penned a letter to his pastor, explaining his actions as a twisted attempt to save his family's souls from the hardship and suffering of this world. He then vanished, initiating a new life under a new identity and leaving behind a community grappling with the horror of his deeds. Dear Pastor Reehwinkle, I am sorry to add this additional burden to your work. I know that what has been done is wrong from all that I have been taught, and that any reasons that I might give will not make it right. But you are the one person that I know that, while not condoning this, will at least possibly understand why I felt that I had to do this. I wasn't earning anywhere near enough to support us. Everything I tried seemed to fall to pieces. True, we could have gone bankrupt and maybe gone on welfare. But that brings me to my next point. Knowing the type of location that one would have to live in, plus the environment for the children, plus the effect on them knowing they were on welfare, was just more than I thought they could and should endure. I know they were willing to cut back, but this involved a lot more than that. With Pat being so determined to get into acting, I was also fearful as to what that might do to her continuing to be Christian. I'm sure it wouldn't have helped. Also, with Helen not going to church, I knew that this would harm the children eventually in their attendance. I had continued to hope that she would begin to come to church soon. But when I mentioned to her that Mr. Jutzi wanted to pay her an elder's call, she just blew up and said she wanted her name taken off the church rolls. Again, this could only have an adverse result for the children's continued attendance. So, that is the sum of it. If any one of these had been the condition, we might have pulled through, but this was just too much. At least I'm certain that all have gone to heaven now. If things had gone on, who knows if this would be the case? Of course, Mother got involved because doing what I did to my family would have been a tremendous shock to her at this age. Therefore, knowing that she is also a Christian, I felt it best that she be relieved of the troubles of this world that would have hit her. After it was all over, I said some prayers for them all from the hymn book. That was the least that I could do. Now, for the final arrangements, Helen and the children have all agreed that they would prefer to be cremated. Please see to it that the costs are kept low. For Mother, she has a plot at the Frankenmuth Church Cemetery. Please contact Mr. Herman Shelkas, Route 4, Vassar, Mitch, 41,768. He's married to a niece of Mother's and knows what arrangements are to be made. She always wanted Reverend Zender of Bay City to preach the sermon, but he's not well. Also, I'm leaving some letters in your care. Please send them on and add whatever comments you think appropriate. The relationships are as follows: Mrs. Lydia Mayer, Mother's sister; Mrs. Eva Mayer, Helen's mother; James Seifert, Helen's sister. Also, I don't know what will happen to the books and personal things, but to the extent possible, I'd like for them to be distributed as you see fit. Some books might go to the school or church library. Originally, I had planned this for one All Saints' Day, but travel arrangements were delayed. I thought it would be an appropriate day for them to get to heaven. As for me, please let me be dropped from the congregation rolls. I leave myself in the hand of God's justice and mercy. I don't doubt that He is able to help us, but apparently He saw fit not to answer my prayers the way that I hoped they would be answered. This makes me think that perhaps it was for the best as far as the children's souls are concerned. I know that many will only look at the additional years that they could have lived, but if finally they were no longer Christians, what would be gained? Also, I'm sure many will say, how could anyone do such a horrible thing? My only answer is it isn't easy and was only done after much thought. Pastor, Mrs. Morris may possibly be reached at 802 Pleasant Hill Drive, Elkin home of her sister. One other thing. It may seem cowardly to have always shot from behind, but I didn't want any of them to know, even at the last second, that I had to do this to them. John got hurt more because he seemed to struggle longer. The rest were immediately out of pain. John didn't consciously feel anything either. Please remember me in your prayers. I will need them whether or not the government does its duty as it sees it. I'm only concerned with making my peace with God, and of this I am assured because of Christ dying even for me. P.E.S. Mother is in the hallway in the attic 3D floor. She was too heavy to move. John. List was able to successfully elude capture for nearly 18 years, has left a lasting impact on the public's imagination, and remains one of the most disturbing tales of familial homicide in American history. The investigation into the List family murders was hampered by the delayed discovery of the crime, giving List a significant head start. Law enforcement faced the daunting task of piecing together the events leading to the murders, with few clues left behind. The letter List left offered a glimpse into his mindset, but did little to aid in his capture. For nearly 18 years, John List eluded justice, assuming a new identity as Robert Clark and settling in Richmond, Virginia. He remarried and lived an unassuming life, all while the authorities continued their pursuit. The breakthrough in the case would come from an unexpected quarter, highlighting the persistence of law enforcement and the evolving field of forensic science. John List's psyche presents a complex web of religiosity, financial desperation, and a possible undiagnosed mental health condition. His strict Lutheran upbringing, combined with a profound sense of paternal and financial responsibility, created a pressure cooker of psychological distress. List perceived himself as the family's savior, believing that their deaths would protect them from the shame of financial ruin and ensure their passage to heaven. This rationalization, rooted in distorted religious and moral beliefs, underscores the potential for extreme cognitive dissonance and the dangerous paths it may lead to. Comparing John List with other family annihilators, like Chris Watts, reveals a pattern of internal and external pressures, emotional detachment, and a skewed sense of protection or liberation. Both men sought to rid themselves of perceived burdens or start anew, tragically choosing murder as their escape. However, where Watts acted impulsively, driven by desire and opportunity, List's crime was premeditated, driven by financial despair and a misguided moral compass. This contrast highlights the diversity in the psychological landscapes of family killers, with varying degrees of planning, motivation, and mental health issues. John List's capture in 1989 was a watershed moment in criminal justice, showcasing the power of media and forensic artistry. The television program America's Most Wanted featured an age-progressed clay bust of List, sculpted by forensic artist Frank Bender. This, combined with investigative journalism, reinvigorated public interest and leads. A tip from a viewer led authorities to Richmond, Virginia, where List had been living as Robert Clark. His arrest ended nearly 2 decades of evasion, bringing a sense of closure to a case that had long haunted the American psyche. At his 1990 trial, John List did not deny killing his family, but claimed diminished capacity due to mental illness. However, the prosecution successfully argued that List's meticulous planning of the murders demonstrated clear intent and awareness. He was convicted of 5 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to 5 consecutive life terms. The trial brought to light the deep psychological and emotional currents that underpin such tragic events, emphasizing the need for greater awareness and intervention in potential familial homicide situations. The John List case left an indelible mark on society, highlighting the dark potential for violence lurking within the seemingly mundane. It underscored the importance of understanding psychological stressors and the capacity for ordinary individuals to commit extraordinary crimes. The case also contributed significantly to the fields of criminal profiling and forensic science, demonstrating the utility of media in law enforcement efforts. Today, John List is remembered not just for the horror of his actions, but as a case study in the complex interplay of psychology, family dynamics, and crime. The John List case is a grim reminder of the fragility of the human psyche and the devastating impact of severe psychological strain. By examining the details of his life, the motivations behind his actions, and the aftermath of his crime, we gain insights into the mind of a family annihilator. The tragic story of John List teaches us the importance of vigilance, the need for mental health support, and the critical role of community in recognizing and responding to signs of distress. As we reflect on this case and others like it, we are reminded of the profound effects of our actions on others and the importance of seeking help when overwhelmed by life's burdens. Thank you for joining us on this dark journey through the heart of Westfield, New Jersey, on Deliberately Deadly. As we part ways, remember, beneath calm waters, the most turbulent depths often lie hidden. It's a chilling reminder of the complexities and unpredictability of life. What unseen currents swirl beneath the surface of our own serene facades. If this story has moved you or sparked your curiosity, please like and subscribe to Deliberately Deadly for more deep dives into the shadows of the human psyche. Your engagement and suggestions fuel our journey into the unknown. So tell us, what mystery should we unravel next? Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep questioning the world around us. Thank you for watching Deliberately Deadly.